Yo, what's good, Dub Nation? Listen, I need every single one of y'all to stop what you're doing right now. I don't care if you're at work, I don't care if you're at school, I don't care if you're driving. Actually, if you're driving, pull over first. But seriously, what I'm about to tell you is something that I never thought I would see in my entire life of covering the NBA. Stephen Curry, the baby-faced assassin, the greatest shooter to ever live, the man who always smiles, who always keeps it cool, who always gives those diplomatic answers and keeps everything positive, that Stephen Curry just walked into the First Take studio, sat down across from Stephen A. Smith, and absolutely lost it. I'm talking no smile, no jokes, no charm, none of that Curry energy we're used to. This was a different Curry. This was a Curry I've never seen before. And honestly, it was kind of terrifying. And what he said, bro, what came out of his mouth over the next 30 minutes is going to send shockwaves through the entire NBA, through the Warriors organization, through the front office, through ownership, through everything. Because Steph didn't just vent, he didn't just complain, he put people on blast by name, he dropped receipts, he questioned the entire direction of the franchise, and at one point, he basically said out loud what nobody thought he would ever say, that his future in Golden State might not be guaranteed anymore. I'm still shaking just thinking about it, so let me walk you through this entire thing from the very beginning, because you need to hear every single word. So here's the context for those of you who haven't been following. The Golden State Warriors just finished the 2025-26 season with a 37-45 record. Let that sink in, 37-45. A team with Stephen Curry, a team with Draymond Green, a team that added Jimmy Butler, finished with a losing record and landed in 10th place in the Western Conference, 10th. And then, to make it even worse, they had to go through the play-in tournament just to have a chance at the playoffs, and they got absolutely destroyed by the Phoenix Suns, 111-96. It wasn't even competitive in the second half, and just like that, the season was over. No playoffs, no chance at a title, nothing, just a long summer of questions and frustration. And while all of this was happening, while the team was falling apart on the court, the front office decided that this was the perfect time to give general manager Mike Dunleavy Jr. a multi-year contract extension. The man who built this roster, the most expensive roster in the entire NBA, by the way, a roster that won 37 games, she got rewarded with job security. You can't make this stuff up. So when Curry's people reached out to ESPN and said Steph wanted to come on First Take in person, not by satellite, not by phone, in person, everybody in the building knew something big was about to happen. Now let me set the scene for you because this matters. The show opens up normal. Stephen A. is doing his thing. He's loud, he's animated, he's talking about the playoff matchups. And then Molly Karam says they have a special guest, and the camera cuts to the hallway and you see Curry walking toward the set, and immediately, you could tell this wasn't a promotional visit. He wasn't wearing some flashy outfit with a smile on his face. He was dressed simple, almost like he didn't care what he looked like because he had more important things on his mind. He sat down, shook Stephen A.'s hand, but the handshake was short, no warmth in it, no pleasantries. And when Molly asked him the first question, something soft like, "Steph, tough season, how are you feeling heading into the off-season?" Curry just stared at her for a second, took a breath, and said, "Honestly, I'm not okay. I'm not okay with any of this. And I'm tired of pretending that I am." And that's when I knew, that's when everybody knew this was about to be something historic. Stephen A. jumped in immediately because that's what he does. He tried to steer the conversation, tried to say something about the Warriors needing a retool, and Curry cut him off. Stephen Curry, the most polite superstar in NBA history, looked at Stephen A. Smith and said, "Hold on, before we talk about the team, I need to address something with you first." And the studio went dead silent. Stephen A. His eyes got wide, you could see him processing, trying to figure out where this was going, and Curry leaned forward and said, "Stephen A., you sat on this very show a few days ago and told millions of people that the Warriors haven't been to the playoffs since 2022. Do you understand how disrespectful that is? I was there in 2023, we were there in 2025. I put my body on the line, my teammates put their bodies on the line, we fought and we competed and we were in the playoffs, and you just erased that because you couldn't be bothered to do a simple Google search before going on national television." Bro, Stephen A. tried to interject, tried to do that thing where he backtracks and says, "Now hold on, what I meant was," but Curry wasn't having it. He put his hand up and said, No, you don't get to rewrite what you said." The internet has the clip. Everybody saw it. You said we haven't been to the playoffs since 2022, and that's just factually wrong. And you know what the worst part is? People believe you. Millions of people watch this show and take what you say as gospel. So when you sit here and erase 2 playoff appearances because you didn't do your homework, you're not just disrespecting me, you're disrespecting Draymond, you're disrespecting Clay, who was still with us, you're disrespecting every single guy who wore that jersey and competed. If you're going to sit in that chair and call yourself an analyst, then analyze. Do the work, check the facts, because right now, the internet is tearing you apart for that comment, and honestly, they should be. I have never seen Stephen A. Smith that quiet. He was literally sitting there with his mouth slightly open, not talking, which if you know Stephen A., that never happens. And Curry wasn't done, not even close. He shifted gears, and this is where things got really heavy because he turned his attention away from Stephen A. and toward his own organization, and what he said next is going to have the Warriors front office in full panic mode. Curry said, "Now let me talk about what's really bothering me, because the Stephen A thing is annoying, but it's media. I can handle media. What I can't handle is watching this franchise make decisions that tell me winning isn't the priority anymore." He paused, and you could see the emotion building, and he said, "Mike Dunleavy Jr. just got a multi-year contract extension. The general manager who built this roster, the most expensive roster in the NBA, a roster that went 37-45, a roster that couldn't even survive the play-in, he got extended. Somebody explain that to me. Because I've been in this league for almost 2 decades and I have never seen a GM get rewarded for failure. What message does that send? What does that tell me about the organization's standards? Because from where I'm sitting, it tells me that mediocrity is acceptable. And I don't do mediocrity. I have never done mediocrity. I didn't change the game of basketball. I didn't win 4 championships. I didn't break every 3-point record in history to sit here and accept a 37-win season and a front office that pats itself on the back for it. The entire studio was frozen. Molly was looking at her producers like, "Are we really airing this right now?" And Stephen A was just nodding slowly because even he knew that everything Curry was saying was true. And then Curry went deeper, and this is the part that's going to have Joe Lacob, the Warriors owner, pacing in his office. Curry said, "I averaged over 26 points per game this season. At 38 years old, I gave this team everything I had every single night, and I watched us lose game after game after game because the roster construction doesn't make sense. We're trying to do 2 things at once and failing at both. We're trying to win now and develop young guys at the same time, and you can't do that. It doesn't work. Either you're all in on winning and you go get the pieces to compete, or you commit to a rebuild and you let the young guys play through their mistakes. But this middle ground, this purgatory we've been living in, it's killing us. It's killing me." Then he brought up Jimmy Butler, and this is where things got really real. Curry said, "We brought in Jimmy Butler." And look, I have nothing but respect for Jimmy as a competitor, as a winner, as a guy who brings intensity every single day, but he was hurt for most of the season, and that's not his fault. Injuries happen. I understand that better than anybody, but the question is, what was the plan if Jimmy went down? What was the backup plan? Because from what I saw, there was no backup plan. We just kind of existed. We went out there and played hard and lost. And then we did it again and again and again. And nobody in the front office seemed to have an answer. Nobody came to me and said, "Here's how we're gonna fix this." Nobody came to Draymond and said, "Here's the adjustment." We were just out there on our own, figuring it out game by game. And that's not how championship organizations operate. Stephen A finally found his voice and asked Curry about Steve Kerr, about the coaching situation, about whether Kerr should come back, and Curry got quiet for a second. You could tell this was a sensitive topic, and he said, "Steve Kerr is one of the greatest coaches in NBA history. What we've accomplished together is something I'll cherish forever, but even Steve will tell you that this season was a mess." The rotations were inconsistent, the identity of the team changed every other week, and I think a lot of that comes from the fact that Steve himself doesn't know what the front office wants. Does ownership want to win now? Do they want to rebuild? Because Steve can't coach in limbo. Nobody can. And the fact that Steve hasn't decided whether he's coming back or not, the fact that he's weighing whether to pull the pin on this whole thing, that tells you everything you need to know about where this franchise is right now. When your coach is thinking about walking away, that's a code red. Then came the moment that is going to be replayed for years. The moment that changed everything. Stephen A asked him straight up, "Steph, are you committed to the Golden State Warriors long term?" And Curry paused. He paused. Stephen Curry, the man who has been synonymous with Golden State for his entire career, the man who built the dynasty, who put the Warriors on the map, who turned the Bay Area into the basketball capital of the world, he paused when asked if he was committed. And then he said, and I'm gonna give you his exact words because they matter. He said, "I love Golden State. I love the Bay, I love the fans. Everything I am as a basketball player, I built here. But I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you and say that I haven't thought about my future. I'm 38 years old. I don't have 10 years left. I might not have 5 years left. Every season matters. Every game matters. And I'm not gonna waste what I have left watching the front office get comfortable with losing. Joe Lacob knows what I want. I want a 5th ring. I didn't come back this season to develop rookies for 5 years. I came back to win, and if this organization isn't going to match that urgency, then we need to have some very honest conversations this summer. Very honest. I almost fell out of my chair. Did Stephen Curry just threaten to leave the Warriors? Did I just hear that correctly? And based on the look on Stephen A's face, he was thinking the exact same thing. The studio was in absolute chaos. Producers were probably scrambling, and Curry just sat there, calm as ever on the outside, but you could see the fire in his eyes. This wasn't a man who was bluffing. This was a man who had thought about this, who had processed it, who had probably had conversations with his family about it, and decided that the world needed to hear where he stood. And then, because Curry is Curry, he brought it back to the basketball. He said, "Let me tell you about Brandon Podziemski. Great kid, works hard, has a bright future. And Guis Santos, same thing, talented young player with a lot of potential. But these guys need time, they need minutes, they need reps. They need to make mistakes and learn from them. And you can't give them that development time and ask me to win a championship in the same season. It's not fair to them and it's not fair to me. The front office needs to pick a lane. Either trade the young guys and get me proven veterans who can help us win right now, or tell me the truth. Tell me that we're rebuilding and let me make my decision based on that. But this half-in, half-out approach, it's over. I'm done with it." Man, let me tell you, I've been covering the NBA for a long time, and I have never seen a superstar be this honest, this raw, this direct about his own franchise on live television. Curry basically put the entire Warriors organization on notice. He told Joe Lacob, he told Mike Dunleavy Jr., he told everybody that he's not gonna sit around and waste his final years on a team that's stuck in no man's land. And the craziest part, nobody can argue with him. The numbers don't lie. 37-45 is unacceptable when you have Stephen Curry on your roster. Getting bounced in the play-in is unacceptable. And giving your GM a contract extension after all of that, that's a slap in the face to a player who has given everything to that franchise. So what happens now? Honestly, I think this summer is going to be the most important offseason in Warriors history since they drafted Curry. Because if they don't make significant moves, if they don't go out and get real pieces around Steph, if they try to run it back with the same approach of let's develop and compete at the same time, I genuinely believe Stephen Curry will force his way out. And that would be an earthquake in the NBA. That would change the entire landscape of the league. Every contender would be on the phone. The Lakers, the Celtics, the Thunder, everybody would be trying to get Curry, and the Warriors would go from a dynasty to a cautionary tale about how you can waste the greatest shooter in basketball history by refusing to commit to winning. I want to hear from y'all in the comments right now. Was Curry right to go public like this? Should the Warriors trade the young guys and go all in? Or is it time for Steph to move on? Drop your thoughts below because this is the biggest Warriors story in years and I need to know where Dub Nation stands. Hit that subscribe button, smash that bell because this offseason is going to be wild and I'm going to be here breaking down every single move, every trade, every rumor, everything. Dub Nation, your franchise is at a crossroads. Let's see which direction they choose. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.